Hey, and welcome back to another video from my Strange Phones playlist, the playlist of videos where I showcase phones with strange designs or unusual features, and we go into the details as to why the engineers chose said strange designs or unusual features, and of course, how they affected the user on a day-to-day basis. And what we have here today is quite a rare phone, which is the 2008 Motorola Yuva A810. Now, as you can see, this phone does look quite unusual with a quite a unique ratio of screen to unused space here at the bottom, and we'll be going into the details as to why possibly the engineers chose this design, and of course how a user of this phone at the time back in 2008 would have made use of this unusual design. So this is the Motorola Yuva A810 here in 2024 on the Strange Phones playlist. So as always, before jumping right in, don't forget to smash that like button down below as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section below. We can start a discussion or I can answer your questions. My social media is also linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into this video. Now, as usual, for a bit of history on this device, and of course we'll leave the entire history portion of this phone to the full retro style review video, which I'll eventually end up doing. And I know I say that quite a lot for phones, but for phones that I've been reviewing these days or doing these shorter videos on these days, I don't really have the time like I once did, but eventually I will get to a video. But to begin with, there isn't too much history on this phone. It is a very obscure phone. It's extremely rare as well. This one I managed to get it off eBay for quite cheap, but I think there are two on eBay right now, the black and another white one, in their boxes. Both of them are like $250 a piece, because these phones are very rare in the West. They were released only in India and China, and this one was probably owned by a Chinese individual, because the secondary language on this is set to Chinese instead of any other Indian language like Hindi or whatever. So there's a high chance this one was used in China and somehow found its way to the United States. However, these phones were only released in India and China, and they were called the Yuva A810. Regardless of whether they were in India or China, they didn't have a name change between the two countries. And like I said, again, very, very rare. I looked for this phone for quite a long time until I found this one on eBay for quite cheap. It was actually very, very cheap. I did a video on it I think a year and a half ago when I did get it for the first time, and you can go watch that video. I'll link it up here in the card above, and you can go watch that video. But yeah, I got quite lucky with this phone. Sadly, it's missing its stylus, but that's no big deal. I'll probably get a stylus for it someday. But again, if you want to get your hands on one of these things, they're quite pricey. That's if you even find one to begin with. They're quite rare. So if you do see one for quite a decent price, get it. But in terms of history, it was released in 2008. I have my notes here. Most specifically, it was announced around June of 2008 and released around August of 2008. It is not a smartphone. It is actually a feature phone with a TFT resistive touchscreen. It's about 2.2 inches. Got a simple 2-megapixel camera there. No front camera, of course. Came in two colors, which they call Excellent Black and White Shang-Chi. Again, hinting at it being a Chinese market phone as well. Shang-Chi, they call it White Shang-Chi, and this is the White Shang-Chi color. It's about 60 to 70 euros ish when it was released. As far as GSM Marina is concerned, they said it's about 60 euros, but I've seen it elsewhere for about 70 euros as well on some older reviews. And as far as history goes, that's about it. I'll probably dig into it a bit more for the full retro style review video, but as far as now is concerned, that's all in terms of history. Now let's talk about the strange design, and this never really made sense to me even before I got my hands on this phone. there's a lot of wasted space here. Why did they just go with the simple navigation button slash joystick here? Because it's a button and a joystick. As you can see, you can use it to select and you can also navigate with it. Let's go to the main menu here. So as you can see, I'm navigating with it there, and if you go down like that and you hit select, you can actually use it to select as well. But it's also quite heavily dependent on the screen as well, and with that stylus it would have made it easier, considering it's only a 2.2 inch screen. It's kind of small, so if you have bigger fingers it's going to be hard to use. But what I never understood is the big buttons here and the wasted space. Now of course it's a budget phone, but they could have made use of this space, and that really never made sense to me. Sure, it's meant to be used with one hand for sure, but a slightly better design choice would have been nice here. Probably move this one a bit up and make the phone a bit more compact. Of course, you got to fit the battery in there and all that stuff, and it has quite a wide speaker there, as you can see there. And being a feature phone, it's got to have some quirks to it, but I never understood that. What I would have gone for is more buttons with a slighter, bigger display, and instead of having just a answer decline button, we could have just done that on screen. And again, like I said, single hand navigation is nice, but then it's having a touchscreen is also the same thing. You can definitely use a full touchscreen with your thumb and just scroll and stuff with your thumb. Of course, this being a resistive touchscreen, scrolling wouldn't have been as pleasant to use as on a capacitive touchscreen. As you can see, you can't really scroll with that, and there are a lot of accidental presses there. Let me go back here, and you kind of have to go onto this side to use the scroll. So it kind of makes sense to have this there. But it would have made more sense as a whole to have buttons and actually have a dialer there as well. Because if you go to dial on this thing, you end up having to use the touchscreen. Let me actually show you. So if you go to the phone, where is the phone? There you go. So you end up having to use the touchscreen. So anyway, you're gonna have to do that. But you can only use this for the menus and just scrolling through. You can't use this to dial, as you can see. There's no way you can use it to dial. You can only use the touchscreen to dial, as you can see there. So again, waste of space, and it does have quite a few buttons on the side here. It has a dedicated camera button, which makes no sense, and actually launches into the camera, as you can see there. Don't remember if you can capture with this side button. Let's see if you can. Yes, you can. You can actually capture with that side button. So again, emphasis on the one hand use. You can just use your finger here to capture a photo, or if you're using this hand, you can use your finger. You can launch the camera with that, and you can also take a photo. So that makes quite a lot of sense. So they did use their brains when designing this phone and putting the buttons on the side here for ergonomics. We have the lock on this side as well, and the volume rockers on that side. But then this just seems kind of a wasted space for me. There could have been a bit more options down here. Made these two buttons smaller if they wanted to, and had a few more options down here. And of course they probably had to cut down on price somewhere, but I feel that there could have been more significant use of this space. So I really don't have a definition as to why the engineers chose this design. It's one of those videos where I don't really have the answers. You may have to help me out in the comment section down below. And that's just from an engineering standpoint. And when it comes to budget phones, some things don't always make sense, and that's just perfectly fine. Now, how does this affect the user on a day-to-day basis? First of all, this phone wasn't an extremely popular phone. It didn't sell like cakes. It's actually very, very rare, like I said. So that kind of stems in from the fact that it didn't sell well as compared to some other Motorola phones at the time. And of course, if you were a user that looked into every single detail, you would have also pointed out that this was quite a waste of space. But then again, using this navigation wheel / selection is quite user-friendly when you have a resistive touchscreen like this and you don't have to be doing that with your other hand. So this phone was definitely built on single hand use. I just feel that it could have been implemented a bit more without wasting so much space. I would have moved this up here a bit more and put some more buttons there, just to make it a bit more, how should I say, user-friendly. However, it does have a unique look to it, so they probably thought of the look as well. Kind of looks like a face-ish. Kind of got a nose and two eyes sort of thing, with the thing down here, the microphone down here looking like a mouth, sort of looks like a face. So it definitely has an aesthetic look to it. So putting some buttons here would have sort of destroyed that look. So I understand why they didn't. It may have been a mixture of course, cost cutting and then the looks and all of that combined. But like I said, if you are a picky user, this could have sort of bugged you. But if you're not, you just needed a phone to get you through the day and you didn't mind just using this for scrolling and then using the screen for inputting stuff, such as the numbers and things, and only using this for scrolling and selecting, you would have been just fine. So this is one of those oddball phones that don't really make sense, but considering it's a super budget phone that wasn't really meant to sell like cakes, it also sort of makes sense, if that makes any sense for the third time there. Anyway, let me know down in the comment section, of course, what you think about this phone. And of course, we really can't say, considering this thing also had a stylus, that kind of defeats the single hand use aspect of things. And you have the stylus like that, but then you have this. How does that go? Because you can't use a stylus with just two fingers like that. You do have to pull it out and use the stylus. So single hand use and the stylus somewhat bumps into each other there. But then again, like I said, some budget phones never really were meant to make sense. But let me know down in the comment section what you think about this phone. I think it's a very interesting phone just because it's so confusing to begin with, and of course because it's rare. I'm really happy to have this in my collection, and of course stay tuned for the full retro style review video, which I'll do in time to come. This is just a quick strange phones discussion video on why this phone has this strange oddball design. But then again, unique phones like this are what really drives this channel, because I've said it in the past. No, ordinary phones, of course, do need the love as well. However, this entire channel's how should I say, skit or whatever is based on odd phones, and this one definitely strikes all those check marks. So yeah, thanks for watching as usual, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you honestly did, don't forget to smash that like button down below and hit that subscribe button as well if you want to see more content from me. And also, if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section below. We can start a discussion and I can answer your questions. My social media is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.